The Dark Tale of Soapy Smith. Tonight, I want to tell you about a smile that could take the coins from your pocket and the truth from your mouth. The man behind it called himself Soapy Smith. Some called him a businessman, some called him a thief, and in Skagway, Alaska during the gold rush, that smile ruled a town. But to understand how a smile can rule a town, we have to begin at the end. It is the evening of July 8th, 1898. The tide is rolling under the Juneau Wharf. Gulls circle above. A crowd gathering at the far end where planks thud under angry boots. One man walks toward them with a rifle in his hands. He wears a neat hat and a coat that looks more city than frontier. He is calm. His name is Soapy Smith. Waiting at the end of the wharf is a line of men who are done being robbed. They have formed a citizen committee. At the front stands Frank Reed, a surveyor with a stubborn jaw and a pistol on his belt. For months now, the town has bled. Gold gone, men fooled, justice bought and sold like a bottle of whiskey. The two men face each other. There is a hush. A gull screams. Steel flashes. Gunfire cracks across the water. Both men drop. The crowd breathes again. But we are not there yet. To feel how we got to that gunshot, we're going to have to rewind. The making of a con man. His real name was Jefferson Smith. He learned early that people wanted two things. They wanted to believe in luck and they wanted to feel special. So he sold them both. In the lower 48, he worked a street corner selling bars of soap. He told the crowd there was prize money wrapped under the paper. He let a man in the crowd open up a bar, and he found a big bill. The crowd cheers, hand reached into their wallets. But the lucky man, well, he wasn't lucky at all. He worked for Soapy. That was the pattern. Create hope, plant proof, then collect money. For a while, Denver knew his name. Then the Klondike called and the map shifted north. Gold in the Yukon, men pouring toward it like ant to sugar. Soapy went to Skagway. Picture the town then. Wooden sidewalks, mud that could suck the boot off your foot, steam from hot food and cold breath, ships coughing men onto decks, dreamers with picks and canvas sacks, drifters and dealers, honest folks who wanted a path forward and wolves who wanted everything else. Soapy did not come with a pick. He did not come with a shovel. He came with a plan. He opened Jeff Smith's parlor, a bright saloon with clean mirrors and an easy welcome. He built a crew, card sharks, pocket lifters, fake lawmen with real batons, men who would read a stranger like a ledger. He even set up a telegraph office that charged good money to send news home. There were wires on the wall and a man with a key. The messages? Well, they went nowhere. It was just a loop. There was no telegraphs in Alaska in the 1800s. But the money, it sure came in, and it came in quick. He made friends in the right places. He helped with town causes, only when it helped him more. He posed as a protector, a leader. When trouble came in, his boys were the first to offer help. You would thank them, even as your coin purse got lighter. If you came off the boat with gold in your pocket, his men marked you. They could see it in the way you stood, the way you watched the saloons, the way your hand checked your coat. A friendly man might invite you to a quiet game upstairs. The cards would fall a little too neatly. You would lose just enough to feel you could win it back. When you pushed your big stake, the house would clean you out. If you shouted and swore, a lawman might appear. He would wear a badge. He would carry authority like a hammer. He would seize your money as evidence, and he would walk you to the police office. But you would never see that money again, for those lawmen worked for Soapy. If you went to the telegraph station to ask your family for help, they would accept your message for a fee. You would leave with a receipt and a little hope, but your words, they would vanish into a wooden room with a wire that led back into the wall. Card games, shell games, rigged auctions, fake arrests, and when all else failed, a hard shove in a dark alley. People began to whisper, "Soapy runs this town. Do not cross him. If you do, you will be run out, beaten down, or you might just disappear." Then came John Stewart. He was an old miner, tired, dust in his lungs, calloused hands. He had worked for months in the hard country, and he carried that reward, $2,700 in gold and in notes. Soapy's boys saw him. They saw that bulge in his pocket, and they invited him up to the club. They were friendly. It was warm. The beer flowed. There was laughter. There was a game where the dealer seemed to be asleep at the wheel. Stewart lost, and he realized too late what had happened. He went to the so-called marshal, and the marshal was Soapy's man, and that gold, it never came back. This time it felt different. The town had been taking small bites for a long time. Now it had swallowed a whole meal right in front of everyone. People gathered in a back room and spoke in low voices. They made a list. They called themselves the Committee of 101. They would not be pushed anymore. They decided to meet at the end of the Juneau Wharf, where the water would carry sound and the crowd would be too hard to surprise. Word traveled like smoke. Soapy heard, and he lifted his rifle and he walked towards that wharf. The planks on the wharf creaked under his boots. On the right, dark water slapping against pilings. On the left, the town watched from doorways and windows. Some wanted Soapy to win. Most wanted him to fail. All of them wanted this to end. At the end of the wharf stood Frank Reed with a pistol and a spine like a fence post. He was not a lawman. He was not a gunfighter. He was a man who had drawn a line in the wet boards of the pier. "Stop," he said. "You're not coming through here." The air went tight. Some say Soapy raised his rifle and tried to push in. Some say the talking ended fast. What everyone agrees on is this. Shots exploded. Wood chips flew. Men shouted. The crowd lunged forward, then backward, as if the whole wharf was breathing. When the smoke thinned, both men were down. Soapy on his back, Reed on his side. Blood moved in dark ropes towards the edge where the tide licked at the pilings. Soapy died on that wharf. Reed, he held on for 4 days, but he died too. There is an old argument about who fired the shot that killed Soapy. Some say Frank did. Others say a man named Jesse Murphy pushed through, grabbed the rifle, and fired that final round. What is certain is the end. The smile that ruled Skagway went still. Once the king fell, the court scattered. Some of Soapy's men ran for the docks. Some hid. Some were walked out of town between tight ranks and angry citizens. The fake telegraph office closed. The upstairs card rooms went quiet. Jeff Smith's parlor, once the bright heart of the machine, turned into a museum of life that ended at the water's edge. Skagway did not turn into heaven, but it became a place where strangers could walk the boards and keep most of what they brought. If you do go there today, you can find the spot on the wharf. You can feel the wind that carries the salt and a little story of Soapy. You can stand where a town drew a line in blood. Now I will tell you something that is hard to swallow. Soapy did do bad things, and he hurt people, and he stole from everyone. But that's not it. He gave to churches when it made sense for him. He paid for relief work during fires when the eyes of the town were on him. He helped new arrivals find lodging while his men learned how heavy their pockets were. He held meetings and spoke like a community leader. He understood people. He could look at a man and see what he feared and what he wanted, and then he would sell it right back to him. That is the darkest kind of theft. Let us go back to that evening again. The wind, the gulls, 2 men on a narrow strip of wood over black water. One named Soapy, one named Reed. A town that had been prey finally turned and showed their teeth. A shot cracked, then another. Then silence fell. If you listen closely on a foggy night in Skagway, you might hear a dealer's voice from an upstairs room. "Come on, just one more hand." You might hear the faint tap of a telegraph key, in a small office with a wire that ends behind the wall. You might hear a smooth talker at the corner, selling bars of soap with prize money tucked inside. And you might hear the gulls again and the water under the planks and the last breath of a smile that ran a town until that line was drawn. This is the tale of Soapy Smith, a man who bet that hope and greed were stronger than truth. And for a while, he was right. Then the town chose truth.